It's been more than 2.5 years since the legalization of non-medical cannabis in Canada.
Legalization? Don't you mean Prohibition 2.0? Legal for you and the rich, not for us. Don't kid yourself. But I'll be nice. I'll give you that one.
And roughly 18 months since edible products were made available. Throughout this time, we've kept public safety front and center.
Bullshit! You've been irradiating pot, have countless approved pesticides that are banned in agriculture, and, I don't know, try Googling government recalls on cannabis. Mold, chemicals, bugs, dead and alive. But yes, you care about our safety.
Our goals have included establishing a well-regulated retail system where consumers can access quality products.
Well-regulated quality products. That's why there's been more recalls in the first 2.5 years of cannabis legalization than any other industry in the history of our little country. Now, yes, one could argue, recalls, you do care. But if these regulations of which you speak actually worked, there shouldn't be these types of recalls.
Taking action against the illicit market.
Hard-working farmers that have been priced out of their own industry.
And keeping cannabis out of the hands of our kids.
You are correct. Children shouldn't be getting high. I mean, I did when I was a kid, but that's neither here nor there. That's not your job to worry about. That's the job of the parents. I'd also like to point out that more kids have gone to the hospital from eating cannabis since you took over. Good job.
Today, I'm here to talk with you about some of the specific risks associated with buying illicit cannabis.
To clarify, by illicit cannabis, he's predominantly making reference to the only people in this country that have dedicated their lives to learning the ins and outs of weed. Yes. Don't buy from the people who know what they're doing. Go to the rich and the government. They love you.
As you may know, Health Canada requires cannabis cultivators to test dry cannabis to ensure that it is fit for consumption.
How have those tests been working out for you? Have you had any recalls? Toronto Pot Company recalls products sold in Alberta over contamination concern. Moldy Ontario pot recall extended to BC. Here's one from your own government website. TerraSend Canada recalls all lots of Haven Street Rise number 570 Wild Berry THC infused gummies and Haven Street Drift number 470 Sour Watermelon THC infused gummies. Let's just scroll down here a little bit. All right, this one's recent, by the way. Starting date January 29th, 2021. This recall involves 33 lots of 2 edible cannabis products produced by TerraSend Canada. These products were sold through provincially authorized retailers in Ontario, British Columbia, Alberta, Prince Edward Island, New Brunswick, Saskatchewan, Manitoba, and Newfoundland. The affected product may contain mold. Wow, your tests work well. You basically infiltrated east to west the entire country almost with moldy crap. Good job.
But very little is known about the quality of illicit cannabis products and production practices.
Right. That's why we are world famous as world-leading cannabis producers, particularly here in BC. And fun fact, most of the people who've been doing this a long time literally post everything they do on the internet. Hi, I'm one of them.
In the interests of health and safety, the BC Cannabis Secretariat recently conducted a pilot study to test 20 dried cannabis samples, which were seized from illicit stores across Metro Vancouver by our Community Safety Unit.
That's interesting. How did you do that? They were all closed years ago. I know, because half of them were my friends.
The samples went to a federally licensed lab for testing, and the results are concerning.
Of course they were. It was your lab doing the testing. What happened to those third-party lab tests?
The lab found 24 distinct pesticides, with almost every sample containing at least one.
24 pesticides in 20 samples? Are you sure you weren't testing your own weed? Unless things have changed, which I haven't gone anywhere, all the people who are the true growers of Canada next to none of us have ever used pesticides. That's just a true fact.
There were also unacceptable levels of bacteria, fungi, or heavy metals in many of the samples.
Again, this just simply sounds like the reports on your weed.
A part of this pilot study, the province collaborated with the BC Centre for Disease Control and the National Collaborating Centre for Environmental Health. The National Centre has written a blog post that provides an overview of the contaminants, plus more information for consumers on what they might be exposing themselves to.
Ah, wonderful. A report written by the people on your payroll. It is great to have friends.
Next, I want to highlight the danger posed by illicit cannabis products in packaging that imitates well-known candy, cookie, and snack brands.
Call me crazy, but I'm pretty sure that was done for the adult consumers, not to accidentally somehow goad a bunch of young children into using cannabis. Come on now. And again, it's the parents' job, not yours.
Behind me, you'll see examples of those products seized from an illicit retailer here in BC.
Now that's some good work. Who's their graphics guy?
With their familiar images, colors, and names, these are obviously attractive to children. But their content isn't candy.
Actually, it is.
It's illicit cannabis, often with a THC concentration that exceeds legal product limits by 10 times or more.
Let's touch on that. Legal limits on edibles. By your rate, I've got to spend about $600 to get high. Come on now. Do a little product testing. What does the consumer actually want?
My message today is twofold. To adults who use, don't buy illicit cannabis because you don't know what's in it and it may be contaminated.
Because the government's doing such a great job of that. Mislabeling THC levels, sending you mold. But remember, they love you. They care.
If you choose to use cannabis, buy it legal.
Or else we won't get our cat.
To adults who have children in their lives, do not buy illicit cannabis that is packaged to look like candy because kids can mistake it for candy and may end up in hospital.
Parents, it's your job to make sure your kids don't do pot. If they do, they don't need to go to the hospital. Give them a bag of cookies, a blanket, and a nice film. It's weed. Unless you bought it off the government, that shit actually might have some bad shit in it.
When you buy from an illicit storefront or an online seller, you don't know where it's coming from or whether it's clean and fit for human consumption.
This is true. However, based off their 2.5 years in business and the 50+ years of everyone else, statistically, I think you're safer not going to them.
What's more, you may also be supporting organized criminal operations that pose a danger to our communities.
Is there the odd criminal element maybe associated with illicit cannabis? Well, yes, occasionally. But a majority of all of them are hard-working Canadians, no different than you or I. They are farmers, business people, parents, good parts of the community. Stop painting them as criminals, you cocksuckers! Or do you not like having a bit of competition? Because it shows how bad you are.
In contrast, when you buy from a licensed seller, you can trust the label on the product.
Because that's worked well so far.
You know that you're supporting legitimate local businesses and workers.
AKA the rich and the actual criminals, because they're the only ones who could afford to get into the game.
And you can feel assured that the tax revenue will go towards the public services that we all rely on, such as healthcare and education, not into the pockets of illegal retailers or organized crime.
Right. And I'm sure every other Canadian believes you too. It's going into healthcare and it's going into education. That's why we have more cuts than ever before. Yes, we believe you. Also too, let's talk for a moment, okay? This is the end. Their clip's done. I've got nothing left to fucking rip apart, okay? The fact of the matter is, okay, everyone, most growers in Canada are not against legalization. We're not against testing. We're not for getting your kids high. We're not there not wanting to pay tax, okay? We want an inclusive system that's affordable. We want a system that hasn't priced out the actual competition. We want an inclusive industry with a fair place for everyone. If you're good at what you do, you'll be successful, just like any other fucking industry. Alright? So, when you think about the government, maybe tell them to give their head a shake and let the people back in who know what the fuck they're doing. Everything that was positive in what he said, we are for. Everything else is a load of malarkey and codswallop. At the end of the day, trust your local farmer, fuck the government, and fuck this bullshit. It is nothing but a smear campaign because they keep losing money. And remember, they gotta get that tax revenue, baby. But the government always loves us, right? Right. Never mind.